everyone, welcome to the webcast on the topic impacts of tourism. This is Anila Mushtaq, I'm your lecturer. So let's share the slides with you. Okay, so this is the topic for our webcast today. Um, Before we go into it, I just want to inform you that you can have access to these slides and to this webcast on your Whaley and also the webcast on the YouTube as well. And there's a transcript as well. You can see with your resources on the Whaley. You can also see there are other resources on the same topics. I've shared some links with you. You can have a look. This is to enhance your understanding on the topics we are going to discuss today. And if you have any questions, any queries, any concerns, any thoughts, you can share with me during the class session. If you want to see the subtitles on this webcast, you can simply click on caption and you can see the subtitles. So let's quickly go through the learning outcomes of this session. We have three learning outcomes. The first one is the understanding the impacts of tourism. Second one is identify the three main impact areas. And the third one is understanding of sustainable tourism practices. So when we talk about the impact of tourism, obviously the quality of environment, both natural and man-made, is essential for tourism, and it is linked with the construction of general infrastructure such as roads, hotels, airports, resort, restaurant shops, golf courses, and marinas. So in that context, if we see there are some negative impacts of tourism because the development can destroy the environment, resources it depends upon. But on the other hand side, you can see that tourism has potential of beneficial effects as well, and which on the environment by contributing to the environmental protection and conservation. That is because, guys, when tourists come, they bring revenues with them, and those revenues can be utilized on the environmental protection and conservation. So let's look into three main impacts areas of the topic today. So first one is natural resources, second one is pollution, and the third one is physical impacts. So when we talk about the natural resources, we can see the depletion of water resources. Water is the main source, guys, in any country. So what happens? The overuse of fresh waters for hotel, swimming pool, golf courses, personal use by tourists can result in water shortages, degradation of water supplies, as well as generating a greater volume of wastewater. And this can impact especially the dry regions such as Mediterranean and Middle East. So guys, I lived in Middle East, so I know how the scarcity of water can be a big concern. And obviously, activities take place mostly in hot season. So obviously, first it's a hot season, and then tourist activities. So we have, we tend to use more water during the hot weather. Um, Other than that, we have depletion of other resources as well. Tourism can have a great pressure on the local resources, such as energy, food, other raw material, and that may be already in short supplies. Now, guys, sometimes the countries even buy these supplies from other countries. They can't produce it for their own people, so that's why they buy it from others. And when the tourists also go, it kind of put double pressure on the resources. And also in terms of transportation, it can go to the level of exploitation because obviously when tourists come, there's a great, pressure on the transportation. You can see these days, if you go to London, you can see how the transport is and how there are so many tourists in London these days, and you can see what happens to the local transport in London. Then other natural resources that also includes the land resources, fossil fuels, minerals, fertile soil, forest, wetland, and wildlife. Scenic landscape has pressure by increased construction of tourism activities. Obviously, when the tourist goes, they, try to developers try to, do the construction, and with the tourist activities, there could be, impacts on these places as well, and they lose their natural features. And then also, other than this, there are some direct impacts as well. For example, the forest deforestation caused by fuel wood collection and land clearing. Um, Again, that's for the construction. So now the next one is pollution. There's different type of pollution, guys. I have selected just few of them. So first of all, we have air pollution due to the travel. That could be by planes, cars, or buses. This can pollute the whole environment. And then we have landfill pollution. This is because of the solid waste and littering. When it's especially in the places where the waste management is not a priority and they're not properly put in place, then it's a big problem over there. Then we also have pollution. The water pollution is obviously it's the releases of sewage. Sometimes this is done by the cruises themselves. The releases of sewage in the sea, river, or lakes, and sometimes the restaurants and the hotels on the shores, on the beaches, they do the same practice, and which can pollute the water. And obviously, when this happens, the sea life, they are in danger. Then we also have architectural and visual pollution. This is the negative aesthetic quality of natural and man-made landscapes. Now here we'll be talking about some of the impact the tourism operations can create. I have discussed the water one. It can contaminate the water. It has got health hazard, destruction of aqua plants and animals, increasing toxicity in the water bodies and atmosphere, air and noise pollution, adverse impacts on planet life. Then we have a loss of forest wealth, effects on plant life. Then we also have displacement of people, traffic, construction, increasing pollution. This is because, guys, when they clear up the places for the further construction, obviously they move the people, and they get rid of all sorts of plants, and then monuments. When we have monuments and they're overcrowding, it's very hard to preserve those places. And you can see the pyramids of Egypt or Taj Mahal, how they are struggling to preserve those places. Now, in the next slide, you can also see some of the impacts of pollution. You can see in this picture different kinds of pollution and different kinds of um, impacts that the tourist activity can have on the resources. Now we are talking about the physical impacts. Now the physical impacts includes attractive landscape sites such as sandy beaches, lakes, riverside, mountain tops, and slopes are often transitional zones characterized by species rich ecosystem. Uh, what happens, the threat to ecosystem is enormous because places are attractive to both tourists and developers. Again, I said earlier that whenever there is a tourist activities, the developers want to go and construct building and the other places there, and this is how this can sometimes against the ecosystem as well. And when the tourists also have the activity, they can disturb the whole ecosystem. Um, Here you can see with the trampling, you can see in this small image, you can see wherever there's a trampling, there's a vegetation is gone. You can't see any of the vegetation. This is the impact of trampling when they go onto the mountains, and they make the trampling passage, or way to go up the hills, and this can happen. Other than that, marine activities such as snorkeling, sports fishing, scuba diving, yachting, and cruising have direct effects on marine life. So, because guys, sometimes what happens, it is their mating season, and when we perform such activities, it can disturb the whole, sea life and the animals living in the sea. Also, there are 190 countries with coral reef. 90 of them are affected by cruise ship anchors, sea which tourists breaking chunks of coral and commercial harvesting for sale of the tourists. Now, reef guys provide a variety of economic benefits, including recreational activities, tourism, coastal protection, habitat for commercial fisheries, and preservation of marine ecosystem. So if the, you know, with the tourist activities, these things can be disturbed. Now we will be looking into the sustainable tourism practices, which if we keep these practices in tourism activities, then obviously we can be responsible for the best practices, and we can preserve the resources, natural resources for the upcoming generations. Now, the first one is eco-friendly accommodations. We should encourage the tourists to stay in eco-friendly hotels and lodges that implement sustainable practices such as energy conservation, weight reduction, and water saving measures. And also, we should advise the tourists to use the local businesses, and she should use local shops, restaurants, and we should give the same advice to the tour operators. What happens if you go somewhere and you use the international brands in products and services, then there is no benefit for the local community. So you should keep those things in mind as well. Also, environmental protection is also very important. If you have regulate visitors number, for example, implement visitors caps on reservation system in popular tourist destination to prevent overcrowding and overuse of natural resources. We can also have protected areas management. This means that establish and enforce regulation in national parks and other protected areas to safeguard ecosystem and, of course, wildlife. Sometimes, tourists go and they want to have a nice selfie, and they go very close to the animals and just get disturbed, the ecosystem and wildlife. Sustainable transportation, that is another option. We can promote the use of public transportation, biking, walking to reduce the carbon footprints associated with the travel. Then it is very important a point, guys, involvement of the local community. So we should encourage tourism models that involve the local communities in the planning and management of tourist activities, ensuring that they benefit economically and culturally. Another aspect of this community involvement is that we should provide the tourists the some sort of training to respect the local culture, traditions, and their lifestyles. And it's good to know them and respect them. This is how the tourists will be welcomed. Otherwise, there will be an environment of hostility. So this is also very important. And benefit sharing mechanism. And we should ensure that the portion of the revenues that is generated by the tourist activities is spent on the local communities to improve their infrastructure, education, and healthcare. Then we can also have policies and regulations, such as sustainable tourism policies. The governments should play a key part in this. They should develop and enforce policies that promote sustainable tourism practices, such as environmental impact assessment for new tourism product. This is very important, and if some companies or businesses don't comply with them, there should be a very strict regulations not to allow them to carry on their practices. And also, the incentives can be given to the businesses that implement the sustainable practices, tax break or incentives. Also, we need the international cooperation. This is because engage in international cooperation can support the sustainable tourism and standard and share the best practice. Um, Other than that, we should use the green technology, encourage the adoption of green technologies in tourism sector, such as renewable energy sources, energy efficiency, efficient buildings, and sustainable waste management system. Now, the waste management or waste disposal includes the process and action required to manage waste from its inception to its final disposal. This includes the collection, transport, treatment, and disposal of waste, together with monitoring and regulations of the waste management process and waste related laws, technologies, and economic mechanisms. Um, then, guys, this is the end of our topic. I would ask you to with your mobile phone you can have go through this CR code, and there's a quiz for you. Please go and try the quiz, and you can also have an access to that quiz using this link. And thank you so much for watching this webcast. I'll see you in the classroom.